Hello, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Well, I'm here to tell a story. The reason why we live in a country is many people think that we live in the country, we come to the U.S. just for the money. But the truth is not. The truth is that we run over for the violence, we run for family problems that we have in our country. Well, today I'm gonna tell you about my story, why I come, why I leave my country, and how to separate about friends, uncle, and family from my country. Well, I come from six family. Like 2001, my family's end. My mom, she died 1 year after my grandfather died. Like 1 year after my grandmother died. And then I stayed with my father and sister and brother. But then later, my sister, she married. I just stayed with my brother. And my brother, she comes to the US. He had the same problem like we have a problem there. So I just stayed by myself. Then my dad, he married the second woman. We don't have a good relationship with her. So all the time I just fighting with my dad, having problem with my dad, going on the street, drinking alcohol. As my age was young, I didn't think about that. It's a hard life. And then I just decided to come to the US. I didn't thought about study. I just come here to study. I just come here to work and make some money and go back to my country. But then I just realized that I have a future. I have something, I can be somebody in my life and achieve many goals. And then like when I come, this wasn't easy. I had to pay money. I had to pay like 45,000 quetzales, which is like about $600. But then I didn't pass the border. I got caught by immigration. I got sent to a government shelter in Arizona. I was there for 8 months. From there, I learned Spanish. When I come right here, I didn't speak Spanish well. My first language was Quiche, which is from my country. And it's not easy to learn Spanish, like people making fun. People, they think that I'm a dumb guy. Just because Guatemala, their own language is Spanish. But in Guatemala, they have like 36 more dialects, which is my Quiche. I'm so happy to have more than one language. And now I feel that I come success because now I'm a high school, I'm a senior. Before, when I was in Guatemala, I just dropped out when I was like my 4th grade. I didn't think about school, and my dad, he always told me that I'm a dumb guy. I'll never achieve something in my life. And all I know is, well, just be a dumb guy in the street like always. But now I realize that it's not true. I realized that I can be somebody else in my life and follow a dream. We come right here for different things. Everybody will have different story. It's hard to explain, but the truth is like we're still working on today. People they're still thinking about that immigrants, they are just come to take the wealth of the US, but it's not true. We're here to have a better life and give a better life to our children in the future. And I'm so happy to be part of this event. This is one thing that I would like my family or the people who told me before I'm dumb, but the truth is not. The things that I'm doing well, I'm doing good in my school. I'm working hard to achieve my dream and make it true. One day I would like to become a graphic designer or a film video production. And now I'm applying for college. I'm an honor roll in my school. I was selected by the honor society in my school of my good behavior, of my good grades. I'm doing so good. And I'm happy to say that I'm a strong student, a strong guy who will be an example of my family in the future. Thank you so much.
We have a little bit of time now on the schedule for questions and answers.
from the audience, so open up the floor.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about your experience crossing the border, getting caught, and living at the shelter?
Yes, well, when I was crossing the border, I was 15 days in the desert. 15 days, 8 days without food, just water only, drinking dirty water. I just realized that I'm gonna die. I said, this is the end of my life. But then I just working hard, do my best. Then later I get caught by the immigration in Arizona in a house. It was like 150 people in one house. People there were so excited that we crossed the border already, and we are in Arizona, and we will be soon with our family. But then one of the house neighbor called the immigration and police, and then I felt that's like the end of my life. I just want to go back to my country because I was dying with hunger. I don't have any food. But then I just get sent to the immigration shelter. And I didn't feel like something that's not good. I just felt just like somebody sent an angel to save me and be in the good hands of people who take care of me there. Yes.
Do you have any kind of legal status?
Yes. Well, like.
And how did you acquire it? You have it.
Well, like I have a green card now. So my story, I don't have, but Guatemala, I can't go back to my country. My father, he don't like me there. My father, he wants me out of his house. So the status is that like, I don't know how it's called this.
Special immigration.
Yeah, that's the one. So they give me the chance to be here with a foster family. I'm gonna live with a foster family. I'm so excited to have my green card. Maybe soon I'll become a citizen of the U.S. I'm so happy to. Yeah.
Could you talk a little bit, we hear a lot about the journey crossing the U.S. border. I'm wondering about from Guatemala crossing into Mexico and traveling through Mexico and how that was for you.
Well, I believe the border between Guatemala and Mexico is not so hard. I just walk like 2 hours or 3 hours in the mountain. I just cross by car and then the bus, crossing or Mexico in the bus. The hard part was in the border, the U.S. and Mexico. Yeah.
Marcelo, a lot of us never learned what happened in Guatemala. I think we had to be alive in the 80s to really know what happened. Could you describe for a lot of us what was going on in Guatemala with the government and then how that's affecting the government today and life in Guatemala?
I believe the life in Guatemala now is hard. And education is hard because the government of Guatemala, they don't have the same, they don't take care of the students as they do in the U.S. Guatemala, like the education, if you go late in school, all they do, so they punish you by doing something like cleaning the bathroom or they hurt you with the ruler. But that is something that shouldn't happen because every student, they get hurt by the teacher and then they don't want to go to school anymore. They don't want to get hurt and punished for something they don't want to do, like cleaning the bathroom, doing something. That something should be an employer, they should do it. That's one the reason I dropped out of high school, because my dad, he sends me every day late on school. I have to work in the morning and come after school I have to work. I always be late in my school and then I get hurt by my teacher. I get punished for something that I don't have control of it. My dad, he have the control. So I believe the government should make the school better than something like the US. Yes.
How does life in Guatemala compare to life here in the U.S.?
Well, the life in US and Guatemala. In Guatemala, the government don't take care of that. Don't care about how old are you to start working. You can start working at the age you want, or your parents they send you to work. But in the US, the government requires you have to be 16 or 18 to work, to be able to work. And they want you to go to school, they make sure that you go to school, otherwise you get in trouble. But in Guatemala, they don't care about nothing. You can start working at any age. You can start doing things at any age. But US, they have required age to do things that is right for the future and the people's health. Yes.
So it's so admirable, all the things that you've accomplished in the United States in such a short period of time, so I really want to commend you for all of that. And I just wonder, what were the biggest challenges for you as you started your new life here in the United States in terms of integrating and learning the language, things like that? What were the biggest challenges, or what might a community like Villanova University do to help others who are in your situation start integrating into society?
Well, I believe my biggest challenge is to learn the English. It's not easy for me. Every time when I live with a foster mom who don't speak my language, which is just only English. I don't speak any English in that time. So all that time I have a bunch of paper with me translated in Spanish and English. So every time when I talk with somebody, I talk with my mom, I have to go with my paper and look every word and put it together and then show my mom. And then she teach me how to read and how to write. Then I believe that's the biggest challenge I have achieved now. Yes.
I believe you said you're interested in science. Did I understand well? Or not?
Can you say again?
You said that you're interested in science.
No, I'm interested in graphic design. Designs.
Graphic design.
No, not science.
How did you become interested in graphic design while you were in Guatemala or after you came here? Did you have exposure to graphic design in Guatemala schools?
No, I just decided to become a graphic designer here in the US. In Guatemala, I don't have the chance to do it. I put it like design is like something that I like. Cause if I could design my life, if I could design my future, I'll design my way. But life cannot design, life cannot be what you want. So things you have to do, like what does the future say? So that's why I'm interested in science, do things right, make design. So design is just a love for me. So I can express my expression there and work with it. Yes.
Did you find that it was helpful to learn to read and write in Spanish at the same time that you're learning English, or did you mostly just learn English once you got to the United States?
Well, I learned Spanish when I was in Arizona in the shelter of the government for 8 months. There was a lot of immigrants there. There was like many people who get caught by immigration. That's where I learned Spanish. Then when I come to the Pennsylvania, in Philadelphia, I just started learning English. Yes.
What do you think you'd be doing right now? What would your life be like if you had stayed in Guatemala?
Well, my life now in Guatemala, I believe, is like working on the farm, like always, working on the construction, or just working. I don't have an education like I do now. I may still like my life as a drunk, because I was there, I was drinking, and I believe now life is different for me. Life is, it's just something that I love now, and students, which is, I'll graduate this June, and I believe my life is better than should be in Guatemala now. Yes.
Sorry. So I'm curious, what part of Guatemala you're from, and also, did your family tell you much about the Civil War, with the guerrilla?
Well, I live part of Quiche. There's a town called Patachak, but they didn't tell me nothing about the war, what happened there, nothing. I know a little bit about the Maya war or something, but not about the world war or the civil war, nothing about that.
I would like to ask you a question. I'm going to plead ignorance about this immigration, and I'm wondering, are there laws in the books in the United States to kind of protect these people? And if so, what protections do they have at this time? Or are there no laws in the books to protect them? What's the general?
I think that's the rest of the day. Right? I don't want to preempt.
So later on today, you'll hear that there are very limited rules on the books. So the benefit that Marcelo was able to take advantage of is a special immigrant juvenile visa. So that's available to children who have suffered from neglect, abandonment, or abuse by their parents. And so he was able to show successfully, and I'm just saying this based on what he said today, so I didn't represent him, I don't know that much about his case, but it sounds like you said your mother had died and you were living with your father, and your father basically neglected you, right?
That's
he told
right.
you he was abusive or neglectful, and so based on that, Marcelo was successful in making a claim. Now he was probably successful in a Philadelphia court.
Yes, that's
Right?
right. Yep.
It would be very different if he were living in Chester County. Because in Chester County, it's very hard, because what these adjudications take place in the family court. And so initially you have to get a family court judge to declare that he has been neglected, abandoned, or abused by a parent. And it's really hard to get that in a Chester County family court. In Philadelphia, it's much easier. So even though someone might squarely fall within the text of the law, there's also a lot of arbitrariness in terms of where the cases are adjudicated and what judge it's before. So that's one benefit of basis for relief. And we'll hear a lot more about that, as Michael said later on. The other thing that some of the unaccompanied minors have been eligible for is asylum protection. But with asylum protection, you need to show that you've been persecuted or that you fear future persecution on account of one of 5 grounds: your race, religion, nationality, membership in a particular social group, or political opinion. So there have been some recent victories with respect to some adjudications where people who've been, let's say, one set of cases is people who've been victims of domestic violence. A lot of the kids who are fleeing from Central America right now have been victims of domestic violence or other kinds of sexual violence. So though that category of people, if they're successful in adjudicating their case, are able to establish protection under that. We recently heard about a case in Connecticut where people were attacked and recruited into the gang, and then they stood up and went to the government and asked the government for protection, asked the police for protection, and the police weren't able to protect them. In that case, the applicant was able to get asylum relief. But the laws are very limited. It's really challenging. Most cases that are successful, it's because you have a really creative lawyer and you have a lot of free pro bono work, supporting you. Most people don't have a lawyer, so they appear on their own. They have no idea what's relevant about the facts of their case, and it's for them it's like nearly impossible for them to get over the system and get some kind of protection. But like Michael said, we'll hear a lot more about that later today. But it's a good way to kind of frame what you'll be hearing this morning as well.
I just wonder, Daniel Moynihan coined a phrase years ago, benign neglect, and he applied it to the poor. Maybe that's the United States, the way they're able to stay here is through the benign neglect of the country, of the government and their laws. I mean, otherwise these people can be just ushered right out, right? They don't have protection.
Yeah. I mean, that is a way of looking at it. The other thing to note is just that the immigration system right now, the adjudicatory system, is so overburdened that part of the neglect is like a neglect in kind of giving the resources to adjudicate properly. So we just heard a report earlier this week, there are 425,000 cases before the immigration courts. And that's, just backlogging the whole system. There's just as many before the asylum office. So.
All right, well, we've come to the end of this first session. Marcelo, congratulations on your remarkable achievements. You have started this conference off so well by putting a human and inspiring face on this problem. Thank you.
You're welcome.